Institut Pendidikan Guru Kampus Perempuan Melayu Melaka yang terletak di tengah-tengah Bandaraya Melaka akan menganjurkan satu simposium antarabangsa buat kali pertama pada 15 hingga 17 November 2022 akan datang secara dalam talian. Nama simposium ini adalah International Symposium on Child Education 2022 atau ISCE 2022. Simposium ini akan mengangkat tema Challenges in Today's Children Education. Simposium ini disangka disertai seramai 500 hingga 700 orang peserta yang sebahagian besarnya terdiri daripada warga pendidik dari seluruh negara. Antara objektif simposium ini adalah seperti berikut: memberikan ruang kepada para pendidik serta pelajar dari dalam dan luar negara membentang dan berkongsi dapatan penyelidikan dan hasil inovasi pendidikan dalam amalan terbaik bidang pendidikan kanak-kanak serta mewujudkan dan memantapkan jaringan kolaboratif serta jalinan kepakaran secara global dalam bidang pendidikan kanak-kanak.
Saya mewakili warga IPG Kampus Perempuan Melayu mengalung-alungkan seluruh warga pendidikan untuk bersama-sama kami dalam International Symposium on Child Education ISCE 2022 yang akan berlangsung pada 15 hingga 17 November 2022 secara dalam talian. Simposium ini merupakan simposium kali pertama peringkat antarabangsa yang dianjurkan oleh Institut Pendidikan Guru Kampus Perempuan Melayu Melaka dengan kerjasama Majlis Akademia Pendidikan Guru Malaysia. Semoga simposium ini menjadi medium kepada warga pendidik dari dalam dan luar negara untuk berkongsi idea, ilmu, kepakaran, amalan-amalan terbaik dan pengalaman melalui pelbagai aktiviti seperti siri ucap utama, pembentangan penyelidikan, pertandingan inovasi, forum pendidikan awal kanak-kanak, forum pendidikan khas serta showcase pengajaran dan pembelajaran yang bertemakan Challenges in Today's Children Education. Jangan lupa bersama-sama kami dalam ISCE 2022 pada 15 hingga 17 November nanti.
Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today is the second day for International Symposium on Child Education ISCE 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, for today, Dr. Nordiana Zakir will deliver her keynote speech. But before that, let's start off with a little bit of introduction for Dr. Nordiana. Dr. Nordiana Zakir is an assistant professor in early childhood education at Sultan Hasanal Bolkiah Institute of Education SHBIE, Universiti Brunei Darussalam UBD. She has taught in some Brunei government, preschool and primary schools via work placement from UBD. Dr. Nordiana has experience teaching various levels of early childhood education and care courses ranging from undergraduate to graduate degree level for SHBIE UBD. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Nordiana Zakir to deliver her speech.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning and salam sejahtera. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the International Symposium on Child Education ISCE 2022, organized by the Institut Pendidikan Guru Kampus Perempuan Melayu, Melaka, Malaysia. I am Assistant Professor Dr. Nordiana binti Haji Zakir from the Sultan Hasanal Bolkiah Institute of Education, Universiti Brunei Darussalam, and your speaker for today. Before we start with my presentation, I would like to thank Dr. Hajah Kartini binti Abdul Muttalib, the Director for the Institut Pendidikan Guru Kampus Perempuan Melayu Melaka, and the ISCE 2022 Working Committee members for inviting me here today. It's a pleasure and an honor to contribute a presentation for the ISCE 2022. I hope the audience will gain substantial knowledge from this presentation. I would also like to acknowledge the assistance received from the education officers from the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to present to you my presentation for today with the title, Issues and Challenges in Early Childhood Education in Brunei Darussalam. As an overview of my presentation today, I will introduce the demographics of Brunei, the Wawasan Brunei 2035, which is the Brunei National Vision 2035, followed with the SPN 21, which is the Brunei National Education System, and then the Early Childhood Education and Care, or ECEC in Brunei, and lastly, the issues and challenges in ECEC in Brunei. As an introduction, Brunei Darussalam's demographic is presented. So Brunei Darussalam is a sovereign, independent Islamic state headed by His Majesty, the Sultan of Brunei Darussalam, and it had a population of 429,999 in 2021, of whom 70% were ethnically Malay, and 9.6% were ethnically Chinese, and 20.4% others. Malay is the official language, though English is also widely spoken. The country has 4 districts. Brunei Mora, where the capital Bandar Seri Begawan is situated, Tutong, Belayit, and the Temburong district. Brunei Mora is the most densely populated district, accounting for 70% of the nation's population, and Brunei's national philosophy involves a commitment to the principles of a Malay Islamic monarchy, or the Melayu Islam Beraja, MIB. Accordingly, current and future developments in Brunei are expected to express an Islamic perspective relevant to Brunei's Malay tradition and a belief in the value of the monarchy. Next, we will look at the Wawasan Brunei 2035, which is inaugurated in 2007 for the Brunei Vision 2035. It also aims that by 2035, Brunei will have highly educated, skilled, and accomplished citizenry, and to be among the top 10 globally on United Nations Human Development Index, and also to be dynamic and sustainable economy with a high standard of living affordable to all, inshallah. Next, we look at the Brunei National Education System, SPN 21. To express Wawasan Brunei 2035 in the context of the national education system, the ministry has approved the Sistem Pendidikan Negara Abad ke-21, which is the national education system for the 21st century, and it's also widely known as SPN 21. SPN 21 is a long-term reform plan for the system. And with SPN 21, it brought in more investments in the early childhood education sector. And it also brings the strengthening of student-teacher competencies in the use of ICTs. And it is also heading towards lifelong learning and also improve quality of institutional management. And in the middle there that you can see is the SPN 21 curriculum model. Now let's look at the Early Childhood Education and Care, or ECEC, in Brunei Darussalam. It caters to educational development needs of children up to 8 years of age, and the foundation level in the International Standard Classification of Education, the ISCED, includes 2 developmental periods. The first one is from birth to 3 years old, and the second part is the 3 years of age to the start of primary school. And then we have the private providers under the supervision by the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports, who's responsible for providing childcare centers for children aged up to 3 years old. Next, we have the Ministry of Education supervising private providers responsible for delivering early childhood education through preschools for children aged 3 and 4. Now, when children reach the age of 5, children must attend either a public or a private preschool to complete the 1-year prasekolah or the preschool program prescribed by the Ministry of Education. And the Ministry of Health, which is the primary provider of healthcare services for children and works to complement the functions performed by the other 2 ministries. Now, let us look at the childcare centers. With the childcare centers, it's optional, okay? So children younger than 3 years old attend private childcare center, and it is governed by the Childcare Centers Act 2012. And under the childcare center, a childcare center under the Childcare Center Act 2012 means it's a form of childminding, provide regular full-time or part-time care in a purpose-built setting that supports play and social interaction. And there is no standardized charge rate for attendance at these centers because prices vary to the nature of the booking, whether full day, morning and afternoon, or half day, morning or afternoon. All but 4 of these centers were in the Brunei Muara district, which has the highest incidence of both parents working. And in 2022, there are 54 private childcare centers registered with the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports. And in terms of qualification of these childcare carers, it's a low qualification of 13% has early childhood education qualification, while others are holding A-level or O-level. Now let's look at preschools in Brunei. Preschools in Brunei is optional for 3 to 4 years old. And preschool is compulsory for the age of 5 years old. And public preschool is free and only starts at the age of 5. So therefore, financial conditions may affect entry to private preschool education, because preschool education for 3 to 4 years old is also affected by a tradition of children being kept at home, where they can learn and play under the supervision of an immediate or an extended family member. So this tradition reflects the close-knit nature of extended family structures in Brunei, which means that many parents do not feel much pressure to send their children to preschool until it becomes compulsory at the age of 5. And then there is also allowance given for government employees who send their children to private preschool at the age of 5. And this allowance forms part of a package of benefits made available to attract and retain civil servants. And the qualification of these preschool teachers varies, and this will be explained further later on. Now let's look at this table. As shown in Table 1, there were 117 public preschools in 2020 and 2021, providing for 2,388 5-year-olds. So in that year, there were 72 private preschools, providing for 10,489 3 to 5 years old. So Brunei Muara, which is the most populated and commercial of Brunei's 4 districts, had the most public and private schools in 2020 and 2021. And the Bolkiah district, where the Brunei's oil and gas industry is based, had the next most significant concentration of preschool children. Little is known about the ownership of private preschools, other than that most of them are profit-oriented with individuals rather than corporate owners. Some private preschools belong to and are supported by religious or community groups, and the teacher-to-pupil ratio in Brunei's early childhood sector is estimated to be 1:20, though no official calculation of this ratio is available. Now let's look at the teaching qualification. Public preschool teachers are generally required to have a teaching qualification. In 2020 and 2021, 49% of all public preschool teachers had a qualification specific to early childhood education, such as a Master's of Education in Early Childhood Education or a Master's of Teaching in Early Childhood Education. And another qualification that is widely held is the Bachelor of Arts in Primary Education. There is generally a need for more early childhood education specialists in public preschools. Details of the qualifications profile of teachers at private preschools are not currently available yet. So in general, teachers at private preschools are unlikely to be more qualified than teachers at public preschools. Next, we look at the curriculum. All public or private preschools needs to be aligned and follow the National SPM 21 and embodies the values underpinning Wawasan Brunei 2035. And for childcare centers, there's no formal curriculum as they mainly engage children in socializing experiences through play. For the Prasekolah program for the 5 years old, it focuses on providing children with the necessities for a successful transition to primary school. The Ministry of Education prescribes 5 foundation requirements for the preschool curriculum. The first one is the personal and social development, which includes moral values, cognitive development, particularly in areas of literacy, numeracy, and science, aesthetic, and the development of creativity through arts and crafts, singing, storytelling, and drama. The next one is physical development, which includes health and safety and creative movement. And finally, introducing ICT. Most Bruneians are Malay and Muslim. Islamic religious knowledge is the subject that begins early in the preschool years. Hence, the Arabic language is simultaneously introduced along with other languages, such as Malay and English, or with the Chinese Mandarin language in some schools. Arabic is further emphasized in Islamic religious schools, where it becomes compulsory by the age of 7. Next, we look at the 5 strategies for the delivery of the preschool curriculum. The first one is from easy to difficult, a cooperative approach, an integrative approach, a thematic approach, and lastly, learning through play approach. And now we look at the quality of the childcare center. So here we have the Community Development Department within the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports is liable for the childcare centers. And it also ensures that all new childcare centers have been assessed for the suitability of the owners and the quality of the intended program and infrastructure. licenses, and they also regulate childcare centers to ensure that they promote children's welfare, including health and safety. A significant collaboration within the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports in 2020 has come up to introduce the National Nutrition and Physical Activity Guidelines for childcare. And the managers of these centers have a wide range of qualifications, including some with no more than a GCE O-level certificate, with others with diplomas and degrees. And also, not to forget that the Ministry of Health also conducts workshops for childcare operators and educators regarding the new guidelines. Next, we look at the quality of the preschools. Preschools in Brunei are supervised by the Early Childhood Education Unit within the Ministry of Education. And in August 2014, they introduced the Brunei Teacher Standards, BTS, and helped provide a regulatory framework for monitoring the quality of teaching and learning in schools. The United Kingdom's Independent Schools Inspectorate supported the Ministry of Education in developing a teacher appraisal process to assess the competency of teaching and the quality of student learning across the early childhood education and general education sectors in Brunei. So these standards were based on international evidence-based research. So in 2020, the Ministry of Education introduced the revised version of the Brunei Teacher Standards Teacher Performance Appraisal version 2.0, BTS TPA 2.0. And to date, the Ministry of Education is able and has identified various areas of preschool provision that need support. And it has also identified high-performing preschool teachers for recognition through the Teachers Service Scheme, the Teachers' Day Awards, and the International Teachers Awards. Furthermore, the Early Childhood Education Unit introduced initiatives to support preschool teachers. One of the initiatives is to provide training on teaching and learning as part of the annual preschool orientation program. And the Early Childhood Education Unit has also established a volunteering system, a volunteer scheme, to provide O-level and A-level students who are waiting for the exam results with preschool teaching assistant experience. And for your kind information, the preschools in public preschools, there are no teacher assistants available as permanent yet. All right, so this is part of the initiative to have a teacher assistant via the volunteering system scheme. And behind me is the latest poster that the ministry has introduced for this month, November. Okay, and also other initiatives also include a school and family engagement, SAFE program, and the production in phonics activity book 1 and my phonics activity book 2. Next, we look at inclusion and equity. What does this mean? So participation in preschool education is highly inclusive due to the Compulsory Education Act of 2007, where every child in Brunei over the age of 5 must attend a public preschool unless enrolled at a private preschool. And it is considered as easy access for all because children whose parents are citizens or permanent residents have easy access to free public school education. For children of non-citizens, they require a student pass before being admitted to public preschool education. And for the public preschool education, they provide, for the public preschool education, it is free education, and they provide food and drinks for the break time. For the access to the health system, it's required to pay $1 for registration purposes only, where consultations, treatment, and medicines are given free. So the Sistem Kebajikan Negara, the national welfare system, offers further assistance to less fortunate families. Parents who send their children aged 3 and 4 to preschool must select a private provider. They may also select a private provider of preschool education for their 5 years old. Most private preschools charge fees that would be affordable for parents who are employed. Brunei has over many years attached great importance to the care, development, and education of young children. There is a high level of public acceptance of the need for children experience healthy, holistic development. So in 1995, Brunei ratified the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. And in 2006, Brunei adopted the Children and Young Persons Act and revised later in 2012 to provide for the care and protection of young people. And in 2020, Brunei adopted a national framework on child protection, and this framework seeks to further develop the existing child protection ecosystem from 2020 to 2024. So what this refers to is explicitly to the importance of having a comprehensive strategy, including awareness rising for the elimination of gender stereotypes and discrimination against all groups of children in marginalized and disadvantaged situations. Next, we look at teacher training and professional development. The Ministry of Education is responsible for ensuring that all teachers in public schools are adequately qualified. Qualification levels vary considerably regarding the scope and focus of the training received, with many public preschool teachers having teaching qualifications in primary rather than early childhood education. Teacher retraining is encouraged mainly by attending the University Brunei Darussalam for programs addressing pedagogic skills and issues in early childhood education. Before Sultan Hasanal Bolkiah Institute of Education, SHBIE, became a graduate school at the University Brunei Darussalam in 2008, preschool teachers qualified by completing the early childhood education and care specialization within degree-level programs at SHBIE. And SHBIE also offered certificate and degree-level early childhood education and care qualifications. However, since 2008, SHBIE has been upgraded to a graduate school, and SHBIE offers graduate courses focused on early childhood education, which includes the Masters of Education in Early Childhood and the Masters of Teaching in Early Childhood Education programs. However, enrollment numbers in specialized early childhood education programs are small. For example, between 2018 and 2021, only 16 students were enrolled in the Master of Teaching in Early Childhood Education program. Apart from SHBIE, students wishing to specialize in early childhood education, especially if intending to teach in the Islamic preschool education stream, they may enroll at the College Universiti Perguruan Ugama Seri Begawan, Kupu SB, or the Seri Begawan Religious Teachers University College. So Kupu SB offers a bachelor's degree in arts focused on teaching Islamic studies, and the degree structure includes a minor sequence of studies in early childhood education. Now, if we were to look at this recent profile of teaching qualifications of public and private preschool teachers, which dates from 2010, although this data is more than a decade old, there's no reason to believe that the national profile has changed much since that. So as shown in Table 2, only 26% of all preschool teachers had a degree level qualification, and only 5% had a postgraduate qualification. A substantial proportion, which is 30% of all preschool teachers, held school-level qualifications only. That is O-level, A-level, or the equivalent. And 45% of all preschool teachers were qualified at a certificate or diploma level. Therefore, the challenge of professional upgrading falls to the Early Childhood Education and Care Unit in the Ministry of Education is significant. The Early Childhood Education and Care Unit offers pedagogy workshops to support these teachers' professional development. Table 3 presents more recent data on Brunei's teaching workforce in public preschools. In April 2022, there were 196 teachers in Brunei's public preschools. Only 8 were male, indicating the extent to which early childhood education is predominantly a female profession. Also shown in Table 3, only 96 teachers, or 49%, were trained in early childhood education. Although most public preschool teachers were untrained in early childhood education, the Early Childhood Education Unit in the Ministry of Education routinely provided them with in-house training and workshops for their professional development. However, they remain unaccredited for professional certification. So this situation further highlights the need for more public preschool teachers to be formally trained in early childhood education to provide a high quality of teaching and learning within Brunei's early childhood education sector. And the Department of Schools within the Ministry of Education attends to public school teacher registration. Generally, public preschool teachers must have a teaching qualification, such as a Master's of Teaching, to be registered. And the registration process for preschool teachers working at private preschools is managed separately by the Ministry's Department of Private Schools. Now we look at leadership and governance. The 3 central ministries that play a role in the management of the early childhood education sector in Brunei are the Ministry of Education, which is responsible for preschools, and then we have the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports, responsible for childcare centers. And we have the Ministry of Health, which provides healthcare services for children in childcare centers and preschools, and works to complement the functions performed by the other 2 ministries. And the Ministry of Religious Affairs also contributes to governance with the sector by managing religious education. The National Framework on Child Protection, developed in 2020, has attempted to align the roles and responsibilities of the various ministries and their constituent officers regarding the protection of children and the development of future priorities. The Ministry of Education's role in the sector is the most dominant. It has many specialized departments, including the Department of Schools, the Early Childhood Education Unit, the Department of Curriculum Department, the Department of Schools Inspectorate, and the Private Schools Unit. Its approach to governance is top-down, as it appoints public preschool principals and teachers. So public preschool principals then work within a framework of policies and guidelines approved by the Department of Schools, the Early Childhood Unit, the Early Child Education Unit, and the Department of Curriculum Development. So most of the decision-making regarding public preschool organization and curriculum matters occurs centrally within the ministry. The ministry's Department of Private Schools supervises private preschools to ensure compliance with legislation and associated regulatory requirements. And the Department of Private Schools sets minimum requirements for teacher appointments, but does not engage with the appointment process. And the owners of these preschools appoint the principals and the teachers. Salaries offered by private preschools are less attractive than those paid by public preschools. Public preschool teachers have access to a range of benefits available to government employees. So now we will look at issues and concerns, which I have touched as we go along with the slides just now. So for the issues and concerns, we will cover curriculum transformation, the Ministry of Education currently drafting the national framework for children 3 to 5 years old, and the need to develop online learning capacity, the learning recovery program, the quality education and care, the higher education institutions' role, and gender balance. So first, we look at the curriculum transformation with Wawasan Brunei 2025 and SPN 21 as structural drivers for change. So in this era of globalization of the 21st century, many countries have introduced reforms to their national education systems, along with the changes to their early childhood education services and policies. So this enables them to strive towards providing high-quality education experience. The primary trend in the early childhood education sector relates to curriculum transformation. So there has been a significant curriculum transformation since 2012 because of the adoption of the Brunei National Vision 2035 and the SPN 21, which acts as the structural drivers for educational change. The Ministry of Education's Early Childhood Education Unit has progressively pushed the sector towards a fun, play, and learn more approach to teaching as required by the SPN 21 curriculum framework. And the teachers are now being encouraged to be more child-centered in their curriculum delivery and to engage children more in active learning through play and project-based learning. Next, we look at the Ministries of Education drafting national framework for children aged 3 to 5 years old. So associated with the changes arising from the vision statement and SPN 21, there has been a renewed commitment to continuous quality improvement and the provision of additional resources to ensure a high level of education and childcare service. So the Ministry of Education is currently drafting a national framework for preschools for children aged 3 to 5 years old. So the framework will later on supplement the National Framework on Child Protection produced by the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports. Next, we look at develop online learning capacity. This is an immediate issue for the sector concerns as the need to develop an online teaching and learning capacity. This is to enhance digital technology, which can be integrated further into teaching and learning approaches. So here, the COVID-19 pandemic caused a significant disruption within the sector in 2020 and 2021. Preschool students were expected to engage in rudimentary forms of online learning quickly devised by preschool teachers. So this experience was new for teachers, parents, and children. Some homes had no internet connection, so home learning packs also had to be developed to assist parents in keeping their children occupied with learning. The effect of the disruption has been that preschools are now much more open to exploring blended learning approaches that involve classroom instruction, opportunities for independent learning, and internet-based resources. This transformation is occurring slowly, but also needs to be consolidated. So if you look at on my side, that there's a learning recovery program. This is the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, where this is a newsletter from the Ministry of Education. And if you are interested, you can read further and go through the source to the website, which is www.moe.gov.bn. And it also stresses that if schools are to remain adaptable, strategic, and able to fulfill the demands of contemporary education, they must learn to embrace data-driven culture. Because from this data, they will be able to identify what kind of support needs to be provided either to the teacher or the students, or both teacher and students. Next, we will be looking at the quality of teaching in early childhood education. Now, this is a longer term issue which concerns the quality of the teaching workforce in the early childhood education sector. As mentioned earlier, there is a general need for preschool teachers to be much better qualified. The proportion of early childhood education teachers who have trained at the postgraduate level in early childhood education is relatively small. So many practicing early childhood teachers also need to improve their qualification levels. It's of particular concern that about 1/3 of them may not have studied at a level higher than completing school leaving qualifications. Next, we look at the higher education institutions' role. So the higher education institutions have an essential role in making access to programs for upgrading qualifications widely available. SHBIE needs to actively promote its Masters of Education in Early Childhood Education and Masters of Teaching in Early Childhood Education programs to the public. It is also timely for SHBIE to develop and offer micro-credential programs focusing on specific areas of expertise in early childhood education. The micro-credential programs are becoming popular across many areas of higher education. So their existence in the context of providing professional development opportunities for early childhood education teachers in Brunei would be highly beneficial. There is also the need for Universiti Brunei Darussalam to establish an early childhood education center within the university. Many universities in other countries develop these centers to support university employees who have young children and provide a setting for research about issues of concern in the sector. So a campus-based center would also offer internship opportunities for students completing qualifications in early childhood education. The university was considering this proposal several years back. Perhaps it's timely for the matter to be reconsidered. Lastly, we look at gender balance. So there's also a need for a better gender balance within the early childhood education teaching workforce. A study done by myself on men's perception back in 2009 of teaching in Brunei preschools revealed that they perceived working in the early childhood education sector as more of a female profession. And there was also very little attention given to male early childhood education teachers in advertisements about careers in the profession. However, the study also found that the men in the study tend to be more creative than many female teachers. So the reasons why so few males are attracted to working as preschool teachers needs to be better understood to reflect the current situation. The Ministry of Education must review its processes in terms of recruitment processes to show that it attaches importance to having more male preschool teachers in the sector. We have come to the conclusion. So by 2035, Brunei wishes to be recognized for the accomplishments of its well-educated and highly skilled people, improving the quality of life, and for the creation of a dynamic and sustainable economy. This is also on a par globally, as there has been growing attention and interest in the issue of early childhood education by many countries. Therefore, there will be both continuity and changes in order to meet the social and economic developmental needs of Brunei. It is unavoidable that changes are needed in Brunei in order to further improve the country as a whole. Although those changes are needed, it's important for Brunei to uphold its core values that has been the foundation of its stability, harmony, and prosperity. Any changes made shall be guided by the MIB concept, which is the Melayu Islam Beraja, or the Malay Islamic Monarchy concept, at all times, a focus which includes a commitment to the monarchy and nation, a belief in the values of Islam based on the Ahli Sunnah wal Jama'ah and Mazhab Shafi'i, and the tradition of compassion, tolerance, and social harmony. Overall, Brunei has made notable strides in early childhood education and care and is still in the process of striving towards implementing change and improvements as it continues to strive to provide high-quality early childhood education service. These are my references that I have used for this presentation. And with that, thank you for listening. That is my email address and my LinkedIn account in case you would like to communicate with me. So, wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you to Dr. Nordiana for the keynote speech.